In the unforgiving crucible of the corporate world, where ambition sharpened minds and reputations were forged in the fires of backstabbing, Elias moved like a ghost. Brilliant, undeniably so, yet perennially overlooked, he was an architect of strategies that consistently yielded results, only to see others claim the glory. His ostracism wasn't accidental. It was the lingering scar of a past betrayal, a wound that had festered into a profound need for control and an almost pathological emotional detachment. Elias lived by a single, unyielding mantra: never again would he be vulnerable. He would master the art of being ignored, not as a weakness but as a prelude to being revered. For years, Elias watched as his meticulously crafted proposals were brushed aside, his innovative ideas pilfered and repackaged by others, most notably by Marcus. Marcus was everything Elias abhorred, a dazzling, superficial charmer whose success seemed to stem solely from his ability to captivate a room, rather than any genuine depth of intellect or effort. Promotions that were rightfully Elias's consistently landed in Marcus's lap, leaving Elias to simmer in a quiet, burning resentment. His work, superior in every measurable aspect, remained unacknowledged, a silent testament to the injustice he endured. One desolate evening, after yet another public snub by Marcus, Elias found himself adrift in the labyrinthine corridors of the internet, seeking solace or perhaps simply understanding. He stumbled upon ancient texts, treatises on power dynamics, and the chillingly pragmatic philosophy of psychological manipulation. Machiavelli's principles, once dismissed as archaic and cruel, now resonated with a dark, compelling truth. Elias saw not a path to villainy but a blueprint for survival, a way to transmute his invisibility into an undeniable advantage, a potent weapon against those who sought to diminish him. He began to experiment, subtly at first, with shifts in his communication, strategic withdrawals from discussions, observing the ripple effects. His first true taste of this newfound power was both accidental and chillingly effective. A key colleague, desperate for Elias's technical expertise on a failing project, had pleaded for assistance. Elias, still reeling from a recent slight orchestrated by Marcus, had offered only polite, non-committal silence, effectively ignoring the plea. The colleague's project subsequently imploded spectacularly. Suddenly, Elias's alternative solution, which he had quietly developed and kept to himself, was not just sought after, but desperately needed. He presented it calmly, clinically, and watched as the praise once denied flowed. A cold, hard realization settled in his gut. Ignoring could be infinitely more potent than confrontation, a silent demolition rather than a messy battle. This small victory ignited a profound, unsettling transformation within Elias. He began systematically severing emotional ties, even with the few colleagues who had once offered him a semblance of camaraderie. His family noticed the change, a palpable coldness that had replaced his already reserved demeanor. They voiced their concerns, their worried glances following him like shadows, but Elias dismissed them with practiced indifference. He was locked in an internal struggle, a relentless interrogation of his own soul. Was he becoming the monster he despised, a mirror image of Marcus, or was this radical detachment merely the necessary evolution of a leader destined to rise above the fray? The lines blurred, obscured by the intoxicating promise of control. Then came the definitive moment. Hidden behind a half-closed office door, Elias overheard Marcus smugly detailing a plan to undermine another colleague, a rising star, who posed a potential threat. The casual cruelty, the calculated malice, confirmed every suspicion Elias had ever harbored about his rival. This wasn't just about self-preservation anymore. This was about strategic dismantling, about using the power of being ignored, and of ignoring others, to bring down the charlatan. Elias now had a target, a method, and a chilling resolve. The cost, however, remained an unknown, a looming shadow just beyond the horizon of his calculated ambition. With his resolve hardened and purpose clarified, Elias embarked on a strategic retreat, transforming himself into a phantom within the bustling corporate landscape. He deliberately made himself less accessible, less reactive, a silent observer rather than an active participant in the daily office theatrics. He moved through the periphery, a ghost in the machine, his ears and eyes keenly attuned to every whisper, every gesture, every shift in allegiance. From this vantage point he meticulously collected information, mapping the vulnerabilities and dependencies of those around him, especially Marcus. His new unspoken motto resonated within his mind. The less they hear from me, the more they'll listen to my silence. This calculated absence became his most potent tool, a vacuum into which others' insecurities and ambitions would inevitably rush. Elias's focus narrowed, zeroing in on Marcus's glaring weaknesses, an almost pathological overconfidence, an absolute reliance on his sycophantic entourage, and a remarkably fragile ego that craved constant validation. Elias began to subtly orchestrate situations where Marcus's usual tactics of charm and bluster would inevitably fail due to a critical lack of attention from a crucial quarter, Elias himself. For instance, a key report vital for Marcus's upcoming presentation went unreviewed by Elias, not out of oversight, but deliberate omission. Elias knew Marcus, in his arrogant self-assurance, would never directly ask for his input, assuming it would be offered if truly necessary. The report, thus incomplete, became a quiet, insidious sabotage. The ripple effect of Elias's calculated silence began to spread, an unseen current altering the office dynamic. Other colleagues, initially confused by his withdrawn demeanor, started to notice his quiet influence. His impassivity, once interpreted as meekness, now began to be re-evaluated as wisdom, a strategic depth that transcended superficial engagement. They began to seek his opinion, not through direct confrontation, but through subtle cues, interpreting his silence as a sign of measured thought rather than disinterest. Marcus, accustomed to being the undisputed center of attention, the loudest voice in every room, found himself increasingly frustrated by Elias's unwavering unresponsiveness. It was a novel and deeply unsettling experience for him, a challenge he couldn't grasp. Yet the personal cost of Elias's cold detachment was beginning to mount. His emotional distance, once a shield, now alienated him from his personal life, particularly his relationship with his younger sister, Sarah. She confronted him one evening, her eyes clouded with concern and a hint of accusation. "You're losing yourself, Elias," she pleaded, her voice laced with genuine worry. "You're becoming cold, calculating. Is this power worth losing your humanity?" Her words struck a chord, stirring a nascent internal conflict within him. He questioned whether the intoxicating power he was wielding was truly worth the profound personal sacrifice, the growing chasm between himself and those he once held dear. As his projects faltered and his influence within the company began to wane, Marcus's polished facade cracked, revealing a growing desperation. He became erratic, prone to making impulsive mistakes, his usual composure giving way to thinly veiled panic. He tried to provoke Elias, seeking any reaction, any sign of engagement, but Elias remained impassive, a stone in a raging river. It was a moment of profound dramatic irony. Marcus, who had relentlessly ignored Elias for so long, was now pathetically desperate for his attention, any acknowledgement that would confirm his own existence in the new, shifting power dynamic. Then, the final meticulously planned act began to unfold. Elias, through a carefully orchestrated leak, a document anonymously placed in the right hands, exposed Marcus's past unethical dealings. The revelation wasn't a direct accusation from Elias, no fiery denouncement or public confrontation. Instead, it was a quiet, undeniable truth brought to light by his strategic non-engagement, a consequence of the very systems Marcus had neglected. The trap was sprung, a masterpiece of silent manipulation. The full consequences, however, the true aftermath of Elias's Machiavellian ascent, were yet to unfurl, hanging precariously in the hushed corporate air. The evidence against Marcus, meticulously gathered and strategically revealed, proved irrefutable. His carefully constructed facade shattered under the weight of documented malfeasance, leading to his swift and public disgrace, culminating in an ignominious dismissal from the company. Elias, still a silent observer, watched his rival crumble, a complex tapestry of emotions swirling within him. There was the undeniable taste of triumph, a vindication of his long-suffering ambition, But beneath it lurked an unexpected emptiness, a hollow echo where he had anticipated profound satisfaction. The revenge he had meticulously orchestrated, the very fuel for his Machiavellian journey, failed to deliver the catharsis he had craved. With Marcus's ignominious departure, the path was clear. Elias, no longer an overlooked shadow, was finally recognized for his sharp intellect and profound strategic prowess. The very position he had been denied for so long, the one Marcus had so arrogantly occupied, was now offered to him. It was a testament to his chilling mastery of ignoring, a perverse irony that he had ascended to power by first being ignored, then by so effectively ignoring others. His silence had become his loudest declaration, his absence his most potent presence. Yet occupying the pinnacle of his ambition brought a new, chilling realization: the cost of coldness. Elias found himself isolated at the top, a figure revered for his intellect and strategic acumen, but feared for his detachment. He commanded respect, but not affection. His authority was absolute, but his inner world was barren of warmth. His relationship with Sarah, once a steadfast anchor, was now severely strained, bordering on broken. Her words, "Are you losing your humanity?" resonated with an unsettling truth. He grappled with the moral implications of his actions, the void left by his calculated emotional detachment, questioning if the throne he now occupied was worth the desolate landscape of his personal life. Then a flicker of light pierced the self-imposed gloom. A younger, idealistic colleague, a bright-eyed newcomer named Lena, approached Elias seeking guidance on a complex project. Her earnestness, her genuine desire to learn and contribute, was a stark reminder of the Elias he once was, before cynicism and betrayal forged his steel shell. In Lena, he saw an opportunity, not for manipulation, but for mentorship, a chance to impart wisdom without the cold, calculating detachment that had defined his ascent. He found himself offering genuine advice, sharing insights not born of strategic advantage, but of experience. He even made a small, hesitant gesture towards Sarah, a carefully chosen olive branch, a tentative step towards reconciliation, hoping to bridge the chasm that had grown between them. Elias began to understand that true power wasn't solely about control, but about the profound choice of how to wield it. His Machiavellian principles, once a weapon of destruction, could also be tools for construction. He started to selectively apply his ignoring strategies, not to dismantle rivals, but to empower others. He would sometimes deliberately step back, allowing his team to find their own solutions, fostering their growth through calculated non-interference. The resolution wasn't a complete abandonment of his methods, but a profound re-evaluation. Elias found a path to leadership that balanced his formidable strategic insight with a renewed, albeit fragile, sense of human connection. He understood that true mastery lay not in the constant application of ignoring, but in the potent option to use it, discerning when to engage and when to recede, ultimately finding a more nuanced, sustainable form of power.